Welcome to the All Things Real Estate Podcast with our very own Josh Barker. With more than 20 years of experience and over 5,000 properties sold, Josh brings a unique perspective to the real estate market. Let's get started.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, Joey.
It's March 2026.
Yes, it is.
I was looking at some of the numbers for the last month's report, and I mean, the numbers looked really good to me.
Yeah.
Like the average price had gone up. Inventory is going up, but the absorption rate went down a little bit.
Yeah.
Or it's still at that neutral, but at the lower end of neutral, meaning borderline seller's market.
Yeah.
Right. The pendings are up, sales are up, interest rates are down. I mean, like all indicators, even permits, like the number of permits that were pulled for new construction were up. I was like, okay, I didn't see a negative mark anywhere. There are small improvements, but they're all, it would be a bunch of little green arrows, right? Even though it was smaller, they'd still be green.
Yeah. Well, I think February kind of rhymed with January, and for this year, and it also rhymed with what was going on last year. It's really, I mean, I would call it almost a nothing burger, really. There's like 150, ish properties that sold last month, same or close to the same as last year. The real question is, are we going to get any more volume out of this market going forward? And when is that volume going to kick in? That's the harder part to try to figure out. I think it's all rate driven. What do you think?
Well, that's the big one.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess when I look at it and look at the numbers and the little green arrows, when you listen to anything real estate nationally, it's all red.
Yeah.
It's very negative. I mean, I don't know. It's the YouTube things pop up and it's the thumbnail and clickbait and the sky's falling. And I mean, I don't live in any of those places, but we talk to people in other markets and they're like, oh, we got a lot of inventory and prices are going down and people aren't buying. But
well, that's a good point.
Here.
Yeah. Well, no, you're right. I mean, we talk to people all over the country and, you're right. They're telling us that their inventories are growing, their markets are softening. Reading has a little bit of a different story right now. We have, roughly 730-ish homes for sale right now. Just a little bit more than we had last year. We would really like more, because our absorption rate's around 3.6.
Yeah. So it's just barely in the neutral zone.
It really is. It's like tail end of seller market hitting the neutral zone. And, I feel like if rates were to come down, I mean, and, a few weeks back we had rates drop into the fives there and, it wasn't long lived, but, in the markets, it's trending like rates are going to be coming down. Right. So if that continues to be the trend, buyer demand's going to kick up. If inventories are still low, which I couldn't see any reason why they'd be growing right now, then that's going to really, really push appreciation in the market.
Yeah, and there was a good indicator was that there were more new construction permits pulled. Now, it's not an insane amount, but you want to see that number climb, and the number climbed.
Yeah, it did. I mean, year over year, for sure, it was up like 40 permits or something. I think we finished like a 174 in the city of Reading. But I would say that watch out, because I think in 2026, there'll be fewer permits pulled than there was in 2025.
What's your thoughts? Why?
Well, I mean, I think that it's likely that D.R. Horton's winding down a little bit now. So, between now and the first half of the year, I think that they're going to, if they continue in that trajectory, then they won't be pulling as much. They added a benefit to the market, which was they added in really low cost financing because they had their own mortgage company.
Yeah.
Without that, I think it could affect new home sales by, 7 or 8 properties a month.
Oh.
Which then, of course, means that those permits are no longer necessary. So if you were to do the math on that over the course of the year, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see us down, 20, 30 permits year over year by the end of this year. So if you are the city of Reading right now, you might want to take note of that.
Well, interest rates have been slowly creeping down. You're right. They dipped for a little bit and they came, but they're effectively, if you look over the last 24, 36 months, it's the line's slowly going down.
Yep.
And hopefully that'll continue. And then the price of housing in our market went up a little bit. So that's a good,
Well, and that's what you need. You're going to need home prices, unfortunately, to appreciate. And when I say unfortunately, I'm just being sensitive to the buyers out there that obviously wouldn't want that. But you're going to need homes to appreciate more in order for contractors to be able to acquire land, develop the land, build the house, leave room for some margin of profit. And the reason why Palomar, for example, has been so prolific and productive is because they already own the lots, they're already finished. And so, they can choose at their discretion how much they're going to discount the lot price by. And essentially, they can make a decision how much they're going to lose on the lot price in order to build a home and present it to the market, right? Because they only have one or two options. They can wait and maybe wait a long time to build, or they can discount their lot prices now, which is what they have been doing, and bring a finished product to the market at some form of modest profit, right? And I think that's kind of where they're at right now. But a lot of other builders in the marketplace just can't do that because they don't own the land now, or they haven't put the money out to develop now. So why would you voluntarily take a loss?
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't do it for very long
Right.
that way. Are you seeing any lot sales in Reading, like individual lots? I put you on the spot with that question, but
yeah, there's a few lot sales. We had one over in Sunset West for everybody. It's like a neighborhood over off of 299 on the west side of Reading, and it was a corner lot. It's surrounded by homes that are built. Some of them are actually fairly recently because of the car fire, but that neighborhood, let's say that the average home built in 1990s to 2000s. That lot was a regular lot. They would probably accommodate a 2,200 square foot home on it, and sold for $1.25 almost immediately. Had a couple of people wanting to buy it. Right location, infill lot, established neighborhood, and you have a lot available, it can sell pretty well.
maybe with the prices going up a little bit and interest rates coming down a little bit, that'll spark some of the other local builders. There won't be huge subdivisions, but I remember it's been a while since you and I had this conversation, but you told me one time, it's been probably 2 years, but you told me how many lots, finished lots there were in Reading, lots.
Approved lots.
Approved lots.
Over 1,000.
And I was like, whoa, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And so, that's a possibility, but it probably won't be a huge impact.
Well, again, you need home prices to get up high enough for those lots to turn into developed lots that then turn into new homes that are being built and being brought to the market. So this whole thing rests on home pricing going up. That rests on interest rates going down. So, we're still watching rates right now because there's only one of two ways that we can get home pricing up. One's by bringing rates down, or the other one's inflation over time.
And they're kind of, they are like opposite ends, because when inflation starts to go up, that's when they increase the interest rates to try to slow inflation down. When money's cheap, inflation rises because people start spending, and then it's so they're at odds with each other.
Well, inflation's tough because, let's say that you just through normal appreciation or inflation, housing prices go up. Well, that usually means that the building material costs went up too. So you didn't really create that spread that the builder needs to build for profit. So it really does, again, it still goes back to, you really need interest rates to go down. There's only certain things that spike buyer demand. But all of us are going to be watching over the next year to see where those rates go. My hedge is on it being in the mid fives, but it's, with what's been happening, overseas recently, that's certainly going to, have an effect, and everybody's trying to figure out how that's going to play out. Fortunately, it doesn't seem like it's too bad at the moment, just because it doesn't appear that it's turning into a more regional conflict right now. It looks like it's more isolated just to that one country.
And the big thing there is the emotion of the market, but also potential impact on fuel costs.
Yeah,
impact everything.
Well, sure. And what people, you and I were in the Marines, and we've served overseas, and what people don't understand is that it doesn't really matter if there's a blockade or not. I'm pretty sure that the ship traffic can move through different straits pretty safely. However, insurance companies don't want to insure for it. So you still are going to have a lot of people sitting outside waiting for the conflict to be at a point where they feel like, okay, the insurance companies are going to let them bring these large ships back through there again. So even if there isn't a blockade, there still could be some financial considerations for sure.
Well, I'm hopeful that all that will end very quickly and minimize impact. But talk about things you can't control.
Yeah, that's another example. It's good to put it into the calculation when you're looking at things, but it just means that, Q1 and maybe a little bit of Q2 is going to be a little softer than it could have been.
So that's what you're thinking. You're thinking that because you were pretty, you were pretty bullish on the market at the end of last year. You're like, I think we're going to have a really good spring. Is this kind of making you
I kind of
back up a little bit?
Not so much. I think where I was at before, still am today, is just like that first half of the year is going to be very similar to last year. And then I think there could be a bifurcation, if that's the right word, where I think that we could actually see sales volumes increasing higher than last year, year over year by summer. And that would be if rates go down. And that's what my expectation would be. My question now is that with an increase in cost for fuel and things like that, how does the monetary policy, how is it affected by that? And would that mean that interest rates would stay more elevated as a result? Because part of my thought of where sales volumes would pick up would be based on interest coming down.
We've been saying that ever since interest rates went from 3s to almost 8 in a
we've been saying
period.
We want it to go down, but it's kind of hard to say that when you have inflation so high. But now that we have inflation that's been documented in the high 2% range, and we see the job market beginning to tighten up a little bit as automation seems to be pushing people off of payrolls. My best guess is that the economy could likely, nationally anyway, it could be doing well in certain sectors and not. But I could also see job growth going down too.
Does that really affect Reading? Are we a job creation type area?
Not directly,
really.
but it could affect interest rates.
Okay.
And so, interest rates are a national thing for us. So if interest rates are affected by what's happening nationally, then that shows up here locally. Where if rates go down and buyers can afford more for the same monthly payment, then you could start to see some increase in volume.
So the job creation, how is it related to the interest rates?
The Federal Reserve looks at the economy and says that it's shrinking. Part of what they're trying to do is prevent it from shrinking too much. I mean, they have two mandates they have available to them. One mandate is to keep inflation close to 2%, and the second one is jobs, employment. Right? Those are the two large ones. They have a lot of different things that they can bring a scalpel out, and they can bring a lot of other tools to the table. But those are the two primary things. So if job growth is going down, what they can do is cheapen the cost of money.
Okay. And
that causes companies to expand. The problem right now is that everything's moving into this AI space. So you might bring those rates down, causing companies to be able to borrow more, but that money may be going just into, building infrastructure for more AI, not necessarily more jobs. And that's where it's getting really interesting.
It is. There's a lot of, you and I have had a lot of conversations, and I vacillate on basically what book I'm reading or what source I'm listening to of, is it utopian or dystopian?
Yeah.
I'm on the utopian kick right now. But, or just, there's going to be a lot of changes. There's going to be a lot of changes, and some of them are going to be good and some of them are going to be bad. I was walking with a friend yesterday and we were talking about it. And I had said, I don't know if you've heard about this, but interest for people that buy the FSDs, the cars that drive themselves, I think they're starting insurance discounts for people that buy those. That was one of the things that I saw, because the data came in and they're a lot safer than human drivers. And, it was the, you watch that can't be true. I watched a video on Facebook that showed, it driving over somebody. It's like, yeah, but that's the outlier. Overwhelmingly, they drive a lot better. And so,
and what you thought you knew about self-driving cars from 90 days ago is entirely different today.
Very different.
So things are accelerating quickly. And, it's interesting you bring that up because it's unrelated, but, we're looking locally, we're talking about a medical school. I don't know if you heard anything about that or not, but
a little bit.
Yeah.
Please tell me more.
Well, we're looking seriously at bringing a medical school into Shasta County. So I sit on the board of trustees at Simpson, and one of the things we're exploring right now is a medical school. We flew out to Pikeville, Kentucky, and looked at a school there. There was about 8,000 people that live in that town. They were really underserved medically speaking 30 years ago, and then their board of trustees at their local college decided to start a medical school, and fast forward to today, and it's a success story, which is why we went out to look at it.
How long ago did they start it?
They had the idea about 30 years ago, started the medical school about 25 years ago.
Okay.
And then today they're just an absolute pillar of an example of what you would want. But my point in bringing all this up is that one of the things that is in the back of my mind is like, are we going to be able to produce quality doctors faster than Elon Musk can provide a robot that's doing medical procedures?
The answer is no, Josh. The answer is unequivocally.
But with how fast things are going, that is in the back of your mind. I still believe, of course, there's a reason for having human doctors, but the reality is that it's going to be it's going to be a disruptive thing in the entire economy. Just how much AI and robotics are coming together, providing solutions.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
and I know that I use AI a lot in my business.
Sure.
And I've really pushed my kids to use it. Especially to do all their term papers. And, no,
they
kidding.
They didn't need your support for that.
No, they got the AI checkers. So I was teaching my kids how to use it, not to write your paper, but how to use it to help you do your research.
Sure.
Just like using 10 years ago, you would tell somebody you don't go to the library and pull out all the Encyclopedia Britannicas like I did when I was younger.
Right.
It's like, no, you get on Google, go find a PDF, go find a white paper, MIT produces all their stuff. The Mayo Clinic produces all their medical stuff,
Sure.
So it's like, you use it the right way.
Yeah.
Right. But, I joke, but it is going to have an impact, and I'm hopeful that, I've heard a lot of, potential scenarios, and, most of them are good. Most of them are good. It is going to change how we live. It is going to have an impact.
Oh yeah,
and it's kind of scary.
I feel like it's going to be similar to our cell phones. I really do, where there'll be integration. I don't think that a robot's going to take over the job site for like building new homes. I don't see a robot rolling trusses, for example. Who wants a $30,000 or a $50,000 piece of machinery rolling trusses on that roof like that? But do I think that they could be carrying lumber on the site and doing some of the tedious work on a flat slab? Of course, So I think there could be some integration that's likely to take place in a lot of fields, over the next 10 years. But it does begin to make you wonder, okay, well, how is that going to affect the bigger picture of employment? What's a quality of life look like in the future? And there's some big questions there.
We could really get outside of the realm of real estate right now, Josh. And I can't believe I'm going to be the one to rein us back in. That's the irony there.
The irony
that Joey's the one that's going to keep us on point. Okay, switching back to real estate, there was another thing that I saw that foreclosures were creeping up.
Oh yeah,
and that it bums me out.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
But they are.
They are. Yeah, in the county, single-family homes, there was 154 at the beginning of the month that were in some stage of foreclosure. So that would be either a notice of default, notice of trustee sale, or already bank-owned. And historically, Joey, we've always seen maybe a third of those go to market because the remaining ones either reinstate their loan or they liquidate the property or what have you. It sucks for those who are losing their home, but the truth is that it's not going to affect the market very much.
It's the number's too small.
Yeah, it's 8 or 9 maybe a month that that would come to market, and they would be received by the market quickly. So
my message for anybody watching this would be that if you're in any state of that, reach out and get help. Whether you reach out to a mortgage office to see if you can't refinance or something, or reach out to a real estate office. Yeah. Don't let it be taken.
Yeah,
I can't unless you just bought the house. Unless you just bought it a few months ago and you're in foreclosure state, but you're probably sitting on some form of equity.
Yeah.
Whether you pull that equity out or whether you sell your property and salvage your credit and maybe walk away with cash in pocket, don't put your head in the sand and do nothing. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, that's a really good word, actually. And it is, where it really gets sad is when you see a property go to market, foreclosure, and they did have equity.
And anybody that bought in the last few years, we haven't been given, it's always been green or flat. I don't remember a red month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not really. Like, it was down, 1%. It's always down around 1% Thanksgiving and Christmas. People are celebrating the holidays. And then immediately it comes right back in January because that had nothing to do with the actual value of the market.
Yeah, I think where it happens though, because we watch those pretty closely, and when we see them pop up on our radar, we'll explore it and see if there's anything there that we can help with. But the reality is that normally what happens is they end up being 4 months, 6 months, 8 months behind. Yeah. And so there is a delta there between market value and what it's going to cost to pay it off. There is a thing called a short sale, though. I mean, we help a few clients right now where they actually owe more on the home than what it would take to pay off the mortgage. And in those cases, we help them negotiate with the bank to get the bank to agree to accept less. That's why it's called a short sale. And we're doing those now.
The bottom line is address it.
Yeah. Just have the conversation.
Yeah, get proactive.
I mean, it doesn't mean you're going to do anything. It just means you're going to get informed. And then based on that information that you're provided, you make a good decision. Whatever you decide is your decision,
What about foreclosure rates across the nation? Those are, that's a different story.
Well, it's still trending up too. That's not just a local phenomenon. That's happening across the country. It's also happening in the auto loan industry as well. There's some defaults that are happening throughout credit cards, student loans, cars, and housing. And if you're looking at it, it's all ticking up right now.
And it mirrors what our federal government's doing.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing, but basically living on credit.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to go through a belt tightening experience somehow, some way.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different opinions and strategies on how to address that. Mm-hmm. Most of them that I've heard are really sound bites. They really, like, when you do the math, they don't add up. One of the big things we had was the wealth tax thing that was suggested, and they were kind of showing how, okay, if you did collect all this money, you'd pay for 3 weeks worth of spend. Like, you just ran all these people out of the state.
Yeah.
And even if they hadn't left, you have to control spend.
Right.
And that's not being addressed. And we're seeing that on the other side of the country right now with all the promises made. And then they get in and look at the books and go, okay, we're going to have to tax everybody. And like, why would you just not reduce spend?
Yes.
Like, no, we can't do that. Like, yeah, really.
Well, it's the same. I mean, and you can understand it if you think about it from just a human perspective with their own households. I mean, they want to, if you have a credit card and you're falling behind on your monthly obligations, it's so easy just to tap that credit card and tell yourself that next month it'll be better.
Yeah.
And, and you might be right or you might be wrong. More times than not, you're wrong. And things just continue to evolve from there. And when it's not your money, which is what the governments are related to, is you're working with things that don't even belong to you. So I would imagine that their fiduciary is even worse, only because it's not directly tied to them. But at some point, yes, they're where it really shows up, I think, in the future is whether or not we lose credit ratings. It'll start to happen at the state levels first. Yeah. States will start losing credit ratings. The federal government's a little bit of a different story because it can print its own money, so they can.
That's always nice.
Isn't that great?
I tried it.
But states don't have that luxury, and so they can only issue debt for so long before people decide they're not going to buy it anymore. And I think that's where you're going to start to see some of these states have a pretty tough time.
How does that affect housing prices?
Well, it does affect. So here's how it looks. Like, I'm not going to say this is going to happen in California by any means. I mean, if there's any state that could pull out of it quickly, it probably would be California, just because of just so many of the resources they have. But if you look at California, for example, if they can't borrow money anymore, so I can't issue debt because nobody wants to buy my bonds anymore, right? Then I'm forced to cut. I have no choice. Or I can raise revenues, I guess. I can go and raise taxes. But by raising taxes, you just push more people out of the state. So that's kind of a counterproductive issue in its own, right?
Yes.
So I think that ultimately it's going to be a conversation behind closed doors between state officials and the bond market, essentially, basically saying, hey, we're not going to buy any more of your debt. And now they're going to have to go and make some really tough decisions in terms of cutting programs and things like that. How that affects us is that if you shrink the size of government, particularly in a state like California where the government is so big, that has a huge impact on employment.
Yeah.
Well, if it has an impact on employment, that means that you're going to have fewer people participating in the housing market. If you had fewer people participating in the housing market, that means pricing is going to soften. So there is some relationship to that. And Shasta County is not immune from that by any means. I mean, we have a lot of government jobs here. It's one of our leading employment sectors in our area. So not that all services would be cut, of course, but them being cut by 10% could have an impact.
Oh, wow. Man, what an intricate, I don't know, problem, or that's not the word, but like, man, there's just so many moving parts, Yeah. It's like so many variables that are all related. I mean, Now you need to rein me back in because I want to go back to, our pets' heads are falling off.
Well, I think what it is that, I mean, things are really, really tight, right? Yeah. I mean, pricing for homes is tight. New construction cost is tight. Government balance sheets are super tight. People's take-home pay relative to their expenses extremely tight. There's just not a lot of room. And so, the question will be, well, what will that room look like? And really, it comes down to fiscal responsibility for everybody. And that's not a real popular thing to talk about, but people are going to have to get realistic about spending.
I'm going to go home right now and cancel all my online streaming services. Thanks, Josh. No.
Well, but that's kind of a true thing, right?
It is.
I mean, I'm 50 years old. I would say that when I was, 17 years old, there was no cell phone. Not for me anyway. I know there was the bag phones that rich people drove around with, but we didn't as kids.
I had a fake
have
one.
Pretty awesome. Fake one.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think about what we lived without before, none of us really had streaming services. I was the automatic remote control for my parents, right?
Yep.
I get up and turn the channel for them. And so I think about all the things that people think they need, and no wonder nobody has any money, and now I'm sounding old.
Yeah, now you're sounding old. And if they just pull up their pants and turn the music down, we'd have got away with it, Josh, if it weren't for those meddling kids and their dog.
That's right.
Well, Josh, I guess, to me, we started this off by saying, hey, the numbers were pretty good.
Yep.
Price is up a little bit. Inventory's in the neutral zone. Interest rates are, flirting with the high fives, low sixes. And it's kind of like smooth sailing moving forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we have probably 3-4 months of just moderate growth. And then, like I said, I'm hopeful that the summer starts to kick it off.
So it's if you were a sailor, it'd be red sky at night right now.
Yeah.
Right? Red sky at night, sailor's delight. Yeah. Red sky at morning.
Sailor be warning.
Sailor be warning. So maybe next month hopefully we won't be saying red sky at morning.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, Josh, enjoy March, and remember this is this month that we celebrate the assassination of Julius Caesar. In the Ides of March.
I was thinking March Madness, but okay.
Oh yeah, that too. That'd be good. You know what? Let's go with yours. I like yours better.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's some
Josh.
good brackets coming up.
Oh, always, man. College basketball is awesome. Well, thank you, sir.
Thank
you.
I'll
see you in April.
Sounds good.
If you're enjoying the All Things Real Estate podcast, please feel free to subscribe, rate, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we really appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.